This may not be the most popular choice for a Daytona, but I've had this model in the back of my mind for a few years. The white gold Cosmograph Daytona 1126509 with the bright black dial and steel subdials. Not a hype piece like the stainless steel Daytona, and you're actually paying more for something that still looks like stainless steel to most people. It does have a few advantages over the stainless steel. I'll get into that, go into the buying story, and why this might very well be my final Rolex purchase. My last purchase at the Rolex AD was 8 months ago. Since then, I haven't had any contact with them except for one email I sent asking them to add this officially to my wish list. That was 3 months ago, and I got the call last week. I think I hinted at this watch a few years ago, but some other opportunities came up sooner, and I wasn't officially on this list until 3 months ago. I had never seen this white gold black dial model in person in any store, so I felt it would be a rare piece. It was a few days before I could pick it up, but they held it for me. The buying experience here was great as usual. He took off the stickers and sized the bracelet for me. I needed to take out 3 links for my 6.5-inch wrist. I brought my full yellow gold Daytona with me to see how both of these would look side by side. This yellow gold is the previous reference, and they look almost identical, but there are a few differences you can see to tell the difference, which I'll explain later. For now, the yellow gold Daytona went in the box, and the white gold went home on my wrist. In the display cases, there are 6 Rolex sports models for exhibition only, and there are 3 Datejust also for exhibition only. But there were 6 watches available for sale. 3 of them were Lady Datejust, and there is one, a nice looking, simple Datejust 36mm with the black dial. And in the wall, I was surprised to see 2 more pieces that were for sale immediately. One was the Day-Date 36mm with the diamond dial, and that's the exact same watch that I have. And next to it, I was not expecting to see the new Deep Sea with the full yellow gold case. This is the new release from this year, and I was expecting this to be a rare piece made in very low numbers. This is a huge watch, very heavy and very thick, and I would never be able to wear this. It's very expensive, but it is being listed for over retail on the secondary market, and this watch has been sitting in the display case for about 2 weeks. So why pay more for white gold when it looks like stainless steel to most people, and you can't show off to everyone that you're wearing a gold watch? First of all, it doesn't look like steel. The white gold that Rolex makes has a unique luster to it. It has a warmer tone than steel and a different kind of shine. So if you know what to look for, you can tell that this is white gold. Secondly, it's that extra weight and solidity of solid gold. The density of gold feels much more premium than steel, and it has an extra reassurance on the wrist. When I wear a luxury watch, I want to feel like luxury on my wrist. Tim Masso said that Rolex stainless steel feels like someone else's gold, and Rolex's gold feels like someone else's platinum. And thirdly, when I'm out most of the time, I actually don't want people to know that I'm wearing a gold watch. I don't want to stand out or attract attention. So the trend for me recently has been towards stealth wealth, and you can see that with my Patek Philippe watches. This one is the large Rolex box because this is solid gold, and it has a thin piece of foam on the top. It seems like they keep changing up the foam. Sometimes you get a small piece, sometimes you get a large piece, sometimes you get a thinner one, and other times it's a thicker one. Inside the box you have the usual items, the manual, warranty card, and service information. And I can confirm again that they have switched over to this 2-page pamphlet instead of the previous booklet, and this contains the service information. Maybe to save paper or something, because most people don't read this anyway. Also the white hang tag and green hang tag, a bezel protector, and I think all of the stickers are gone. The weight of this watch feels very nice, and the white gold gives off its special luster. Comparing it to 904L stainless steel, the gold has a warmer tone and a greater depth to it. There's also a different hand feel to the solid gold. Just running your fingers over stainless steel feels very smooth and silky, but the gold has a different touch to it. I wouldn't say sticky or tacky, but just not as silky smooth. It's not good or bad, it's just different. Rolex white gold is made in their foundry by blending in portions of palladium and platinum. All of their gold is ethically sourced and fully traceable, and they recycle the extra bits that are left over from the manufacture process. The dial is remarkable. It's the bright black dial with steel subdials. They had to differentiate this dial from the stainless steel version, and they did this by making it a solid subdial. And that's a big positive. I think these solid subdials look better than the steel version. And it's not just a flat, solid subdial. The center is raised and it gives the dial some depth and three-dimensionality. There's a textbook written near 12 o'clock, but that's also good because it balances out the rest of the subdials. It almost forms a fourth subdial on its own. Rolex always stamps the Daytona text in red, so now there's just a tiny pop of color on the dial. Rolex on the rehaut, and a tiny crown at 6 o'clock. The difference between the 116 version and this version is that the hour markers are now thinner and longer. This is a throwback to the 5-digit Daytona with its very thin hour markers, and it introduces just slightly more negative space on the dial. And the difference in the case is now the lugs are symmetric and equal on both sides. In the previous version, the lugs on the right side are slightly slimmer than the left. I've heard that they also made other subtle changes in the case design, but I can't detect any other changes in person. The Daytona still has this elegant case design, which is curvy and hugs the wrist and makes it so wearable for a smaller wrist. And the thickness of the case is only 11.9 millimeters. Case back is still closed, and the 4131 movement still has a 72-hour power reserve, but now updated with a chronergy escapement and Paraflex shock absorbers. Chronograph function is still crisp, and yes, you can keep the chronograph running continuously without damaging the movement. As required by Swiss law, the watch is engraved with a tiny AU750 symbol indicating 18 karat gold. And you can see it on the back of the case, on the back of one of the lugs, and you can also see it on the clasp. The solid gold bracelet has ceramic sleeves inside to prevent bracelet stretch. It prevents dirt and dust getting into the links and wearing away at the gold. And here the ceramic sleeves are black or a dark gray, and I don't know if they changed this with all the watches, but my day date and my gold GMT had white ceramic sleeves. And strangely, my yellow gold version of the Daytona does not have any ceramic sleeves, while the white gold and Everose gold of the Daytona do. It's a difference I can't explain. And the yellow gold version is $200 cheaper. Is that just for the ceramic sleeves, or is yellow gold cheaper to make overall? Now let's talk about the bezel, the elephant in the room, and maybe the biggest negative in most people's eyes. Everyone prefers a ceramic bezel, and when the Le Mans edition came out, it took the world by storm with its ceramic bezel and retro subdials. Yes, the gold bezel will scratch very easily, but the design of this thin, slanted gold bezel makes the watch look smaller and wears flatter on the wrist. And the metal bezel is a retro design feature for me and makes this Daytona look closer to a classic 1990s Daytona. The Rolex Daytona is a prestige watch, and this particular white gold version brings with it all that same prestige. There are a few pros and cons to this model. A few of the pros, the weight and solidity of white gold, the solid subdials and black dial, the case shape and size, and the stealth vintage looking bezel. A few of the cons, the bezel will scratch easily, and actually the whole watch I think will pick up scratches easily. And another con is the cost and depreciation of this watch. But when I look at the white gold Speedmaster, that's a $55,000 watch at retail, and this Daytona is a much better deal. Here are the best pieces in my collection, and here's how the new Daytona will fit into the watch box. Rolex Professional line on the top row, and the beautiful Patek Philippe on the bottom row. Those are the 4 gems of my collection. I think the Patek Philippe will always supersede and take precedence over the Rolex. But the goal for me right now is fewer watches, but higher end pieces. That might take me into other brands such as Vacheron, but it won't be AP because I won't buy a code, which is required before getting a Royal Oak. And for Rolex, I think I've experienced just about everything there is to experience at a realistic level. I just can't think of anything else that I want at this point. So at this last visit to my AD, I asked them to clear out my wish list, and I'll just wait to see what the new releases are next year. But quite possibly this could be my final Rolex purchase. Patek Philippe is a different story. I'll keep striving for another piece there, and I'll enjoy the pieces I have already. Thanks to everyone who followed along as I built the collection. But as I try for the bigger pieces, I expect the next piece will be much slower to come in.